Did you know that the nurse has the third highest number of lines in Romeo and Juliet? She's only beaten by the two headliners themselves. There must be something useful in all that talking, surely. Hello, I'm Mrs. Hollinshead and welcome to one of my 3-minute thoughts where I introduce an idea about something in GCSE English that you may not have considered before. Today I'm going to talk about how Shakespeare uses the character of the nurse, not just as a plot device, but to explore his themes. So most people can comment on the nurse's basic functions. Firstly, she helps us find out more about Juliet, who can't hang around with friends like Romeo does purely because of her gender. Secondly, Shakespeare uses her as a plot device. She acts as a messenger and even sets up the rope ladder so the two can consummate their marriage. None of this could happen without her. And thirdly, she provides much needed comic relief to a pretty dark tragedy where 6 people die, and a lot of candidates can say that she's comedic because she fits a certain stereotype of older, lower-class woman who talks too much and is slightly senile, indicated by the fact that she only has 4 teeth. But if you look closely at what she actually says, Shakespeare uses her to represent so much more. She refers to the natural world, specifically the cycle of life and death, and her responses to fortune contrast starkly to that of Romeo, allowing Shakespeare to explore all 3 of those themes. So firstly, she refers to the natural world. She calls Juliet her lamb and her ladybird, sure, but she's also the only character in any Shakespeare text to refer to Lammastide Eve, which is when Juliet was born. Lammas Day was a harvest festival on the 1st of August where the loaves that were made from the first ripe corn were blessed. Harvest is generally a metaphor for death, but death is transformed into life by the loaf that's created. And this feeds into the attitude of death that Shakespeare wants us to consider, this idea that death and birth are a natural cycle. The nurse remembers Juliet's birth, then talks about her as a toddler, and then has her joke, women grow by men, referring to the pregnancy after she gets married. And this is an element of the tragedy that the audience cannot consider without the nurse's comments. Romeo and Juliet's love is tragic because it only causes death. There is no renewal or recreation of life that comes from it. Next, consider her as a character that Shakespeare uses to contrast to others. When Lord Capulet refers to Juliet being his only surviving child, he says, "The earth hath swallowed all my hopes but she." He sees the earth as a monster feeding on his hopes for his future legacy. When the nurse mentions her own dead child, Susan, she has no sadness. She just mentions it as naturally as you like. She has a life-affirming joy that banishes fear. Even her attitude to fortune can be contrasted to Romeo's. He wants to defy stars and shouts at fortune for using him as a fool. Well, the nurse accepts fortune. She understands it is fickle, which is one argument as to why she tells Juliet just roll with it and just marry Paris. I couldn't tell you which attitude to fortune Shakespeare is approving of here. I'm not even sure that's the point. I think he's just showing us the power of fortune, but through these 2 characters and their approaches to it. So that's it. I hope you found something valuable there. If you did, please subscribe and hit the bell on my profile or on my channel page to be notified of the next episode.